Hi, everyone. It's really good to see you today. I am Melissa, and thank you for coming to my channel today. My other videos, we've been talking a lot about mental and emotional impact of my grief, and now I've kind of moved into the physical impact of my grief. And so I'm just going to kind of jump right on in here today. Basically, it's what I do with all my videos, don't need no long introductions, but if you're new today, stumbling upon my channel, I am Melissa and I am a grieving mother. And 4 years ago, our two youngest children, Noah and Sophia, were murdered by their oldest brother. And Noah was 7 and Sophia was age 5. And yeah, it definitely feels like yesterday, you know. And really, in the last year, I've been doing a lot of thinking, focusing more on my physical health. And probably because it's kind of made me do that in a sense. I've been pretty sick a lot this year. I've had several big surgeries this year. And so I'm just always kind of thinking, what's going on? And that we live in the pandemic now with COVID. And so, my goodness, I could probably have a common cold and then I wonder, do I have COVID or is it grief? You know, some things just aren't cut and dry anymore with our physical bodies and grief, friends. And there was a quote that I wrote. It's an unknown author, but they wrote, every time we make the decision to love someone, we open ourselves to great suffering. Yeah, I see that even in the life of Jesus too, but that's true, and in my body, sometimes I can experience what my children experienced, you know. Like I said before in my other videos, people do experience new and strange symptoms, or sensations in their bodies during this grief. We do. And so, once again, just to remind everyone, grief affects us not only emotionally and mentally, but physically as well. It really does, you know? And so sometimes as parents, we can identify with our children that we experience the symptoms that are similar to those of our child when they died. Yes, that is grief. I read in one of my grief journals an experience of a mother whose daughter had a heart condition. And and the heart condition deteriorated and deteriorated to where, of course, she unfortunately lost her life due to the heart condition. And the little girl was probably, I think, 8 or 9 years old. And immediately the mother's had a healthy, strong heart, nothing ever wrong with her heart. But immediately she started experiencing a lot of heart palpitations and skipping of the heartbeat. And she'd go in and she was getting testing and saw heart doctors, and there was nothing physically that they could see was wrong with her heart, you know. And yeah, she was experiencing, and as she got into when she said she got a hold of a really good grief counselor and started really working through her feelings and identifying what she was feeling, those symptoms of the heart skipping the beat and the palpitation, she said, began to lessen and lessen and lessen and lessen more, so it's grief, and sometimes we go to our doctors and we're telling them things that's going on with our bodies physically, and they run tests on us and everything comes back fine, but we're not imagining these symptoms. We are really feeling them. So that is so complicated in grief. It is. And I think a lot of our doctors, especially family physicians or family doctors, they're very behind on the 8 ball on what grief does to the body. I just believe that, Yeah. We identify with our kids in so many ways, guys. We really do. It's like they occupy this real premier real estate in our hearts, you know. we can miss them so badly and just want to be with them so much that we just begin to feel some of what they might have experienced. Yeah, connection with our children runs deep. And I'm sure I don't have to tell any parent that. We know that as parents. Our connection with our children's, they run deep, deep. It's just downright mystical and very spiritual. I believe so. You know, we who knows what goes on, what unseen connections occur at the soul and spirit level, you know. So we feel our child's death in the deepest, deepest parts of our being. We do. The deepest parts of our being. We feel it. We internalize and experience it in all kinds of ways, you guys, through like nightmares, dreams, flashbacks, you know. And like I said, experiencing similar physical symptoms as our child experienced at their death, you know. So experiencing these physical distresses as part of our grief process is natural and common. It is. And sometimes I feel so connected to Noah and Sophia. I wouldn't want it any other way. Yeah, you know. These illnesses and these weird symptoms to our bodies, they can be scary. You know, we got to listen to our bodies. We need to rest. We need to do what we can to take care of ourselves. You know, I do believe my children would want that. My children never like to see mommy sad or mommy hurt or mommy sick. You know, they were 7 and 5. They would always, you know, yeah, pat me on the back or say it's going to be okay, mommy. Or if I wasn't feeling good, want to help, bring me something to help me, or even pick up a little bit. I mean, children are sensitive to us just as much as we are sensitive to them. They are. And they stay sensitive to us as we stay sensitive to them. Just as they get older, they're not always expressing it. But I know as an adult, I was sensitive to my mother, you know? And yeah, yeah. So we feel it. Like I said, we feel our child's death in the deepest parts of our body. And I'm missing 2 of them. So it's just like whole parts of my body. I feel it. I feel it all the time, you know? I'm fatigued all the time. All the time I'm fatigued, you know? I'm worn out from my groaning. Oh my gosh, can anyone relate to that? Like you're actually worn out from all your groaning. Guess what King David said of Israel? I wrote this one down. He says, I am worn out from my groaning. All night long I flood my bed with weeping and drench my couch with tears. Yeah, I can relate to that scripture. I can barely put one foot in front of the other, And my husband is the same. And so are my teenagers. I can see their fatigueness in them. Some days it is difficult for them to put one foot in front of the other. And we've had to learn to, be, what's the word? Flexible, flexible. And sometimes allow Hannah to come home from school a class period or 2 early. Or sometimes take her to school an hour later than normal. Or, really encourage her to change her work schedule, change her availability so she's not going straight into work from school. Some days that becomes too much for her. She's learning to identify that and express that, which is very helpful. So, that's a lot of what we basically do in our family is we're just learning to communicate what we're feeling, understanding that feelings aren't bad, they just are. It's basically kind of how we act in them or do with them that can maybe be bad or not, but life is heavy now. Exhaustion has become a way of life. It has. These last 4 years, I've experiencing it, and I am just starting to slowly begin to accept it. That this exhaustion is just my way of life, and ways to cope with my exhaustion and my fatigue. Yeah. A couple nights ago, I was so exhausted at dinner that I could barely chew. Can anyone relate to that? To be so exhausted, you can hardly even chew the food that's in front of you. Yeah. Fatigue has taken over our lives. It's taken over my life. Grief takes incredible energy. It takes incredible energy. Losing a child, we lost 2 of them. It immobilizes us. It immobilizes us. It's just like being hit by a bus on foot, trying to cross the street. You're not in a vehicle, you're crossing the street and a bus just hit you. Yeah, that's what our grief is like. That's what our fatigue is like. That it immobilizes us. The shock waves are immense, and they roll over me again and again, relentless and debilitating. Yeah, these shock waves, they do. And they come unexpectedly. In some moments within the same day, I am shocked that my oldest son committed murder to his own brother and sister, stabbed his own dad in the neck, planned to murder all of us. That is so unnatural. And that's an understatement. How unnatural all of that is, Yeah, no wonder some days I can barely lift my head. Chronic fatigue, even exhaustion, that is common, and it's a natural experience for us in heavy grief. Yeah. I wake up in the morning and it smacks me again. My Noah and my Sophia are gone, and Malik is gone too. 96 years in prison. He's gone. Yeah, the shock stuns me. Again. It's something you cannot get used to. Yeah. Oh man, close my eyes sometimes and I just sigh when I wake up in the morning. Sigh, sigh, sigh. Excuse me. I rise and I attempt to do life. Some days I just drag from room to room, place to place, task to task. There's little to no heart in what I do. Yeah. How could there be? My heart is shattered and it's in a million pieces on the floor. I put on a mask, fake it through the day. Others are aware of my pain, but they don't know what to do with it. Yeah. Relationships become awkward, tentative, and different. Weird, even. At work, go through the motions. My performance isn't what it was. I'm more irritable and erratic. Yeah. I wonder what others are thinking sometimes. We have 2 other children, teenagers. Junior high. One's a junior in high school. The other one will be actually in about 7 days starting his freshman year at college. They are grieving too. They are. That first year for sure, I couldn't handle myself. So how in the world do I love them through this? My back is broken. The thought of shouldering any more weight, even an ounce more, was terrifying, is terrifying, was terrifying, especially that first year. So much so, I'm numbed, dazed, fatigued, exhausted, It was just like my body is feeling it. Yeah, grief is terribly draining. Yeah. Missing Noah and Fifi is exhausting. Yeah. I hear the Lord say to me, be patient and take your time. So I'll be patient and take my time. I will try to be patient and take my time. Because my grief is going nowhere. It is here to stay. You know, grief is incredibly demanding. Fatigue is the natural result. You know, it's like it finally just hit me. Like, you know, grief is incredibly demanding. It's draining of your energy. It's exhausting. So no wonder fatigued is the natural result of all of that. You know, how has your energy level changed since the death of your child? I imagine I'm not the only one feeling all of these feelings, feeling so fatigued, so exhausted in my body. Do you get frustrated with yourself for being tired or exhausted? I know I do. I know I do. Especially when it can come to my other two teenagers and my husband. You know, I just would love sometimes more energy, more motivation, not to be so exhausted for the things in their life. But but God's gracious and I get it in doses, you know. And we're all, the four of us, navigating this together under the same roof, you know. And my mother was a part of this process too until she died last year. And it was really good to have her inside our home living with us, working this process with us. And I really miss her. I really miss talking over my feelings with her and my emotions with her, being able to just walk down the hall into her bedroom, and the privilege of sharing my broken heart with her. Yeah, I miss that. Yeah, I do. You know, I can hear the Lord say, Melissa, make taking care of yourself a high priority. Focus on nutrition, rest, and exercise. Downgrade your expectations of yourself. Most of us in grief have to do less, okay? We do need to do less, and we must pace ourselves. You know, we have to be patient with ourselves, which is very hard for me. This isn't a common cold that will resolve itself in a few days. That's what we definitely need the non-grieving community to comprehend, that our grief isn't a common cold that we're just going to get over. You know, um, time doesn't heal all wounds. You know, healing takes lots of time. You know, and redefining the word healing. You know, we all think of healing as made new, brand new, good to go. But that doesn't happen in grief. We're not made new and good to go. Yeah, we're left with a thick scar. But the scar is not really a full, true scar because it still seeps out. The wound, the blood, the pus, it still gets out of that scar. You know, most of us with a scar, it's a scar. You know, but our scars are tender. Our scars still seep pain, you know. I'm always going to grieve on some level. The grief will probably change, but I'll always grieve. I got to handle today, this hour, this moment. And that's my encouragement to you. Yes, let's just handle today. Handle this moment that you are in, this hour, this minute, you know, one baby step at a time. You know, really. Getting to know our own body is important in this process. So if we pay attention, we can learn the signals that say we need a rest. And our bodies aren't the same bodies that they were before we buried our children. Our bodies are different now. Our minds are different now, and our hearts are extremely different now, as well as very much broken and bruised. So we gotta, yeah, we're in a process of getting to learn our own bodies now again, with these new symptoms, these strange sensations, with being fatigued all the time. Yeah, that's my grief, friends. That's my grief. You know, on a side note, little disclaimer quick, just please excuse the hairdo today. It's one of those things where, I needed to have washed it to put it back into the style that it needs to be in. This is one too many nights of just bed, no head wrap. I can't stand those head wraps anyways. I rarely use them anyways. Who am I kidding? So, and I tried to do something with it before I filmed this, but I was just like, I even looked at my husband. I'm like, this is ridiculous. This ain't getting any better. So let's just go. Let's just film it and go. So, well, brothers and sisters, thank you for allowing me to share my heart with you and my experiences with you. I pray you are encouraged in this and your grief. Yeah. Well, be well today, brothers and sisters, and God bless you. And I will see you next time.